how are you guys finding these properties? Like, what should they do to find the property?
Okay, I think all of us may have different answers.
You just have you want
Okay,
to.
so
Yeah.
in regards to the properties that I find,
Put the mic up.
okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can y'all hear now?
Okay. So in regards to the properties that I find, I have an assistant, so I pretty much train her in terms of what I'm looking for, what needs to be said. So she has pretty much a script, and she goes and she's talking to property owners, which in turn could be tired landlords, also property managers. So we basically build a marketing list in terms of what we're looking for and where we're looking to pretty much rent. And in that case, because in my case, I rent to a lot of nurses. I do a lot of individuals, of course, working individuals. I think all of us up here do that. However, for us, that's pretty much the method that we use. So we're looking to get property owners, and I have one property owner that buys a lot of houses. So every house that they get, they first come to me to see if that's something that I'm interested in. If it's a model that we can use for my business model, then they work with me directly. If not, then they'll put it out on the market.
Okay. So how did you like come up with what you want your assistant to go look for?
Based on my business model. So number one, again, my number one thing, or the number one people that I market to are working professionals. The majority of the people that I house are nurses, because I do both Airbnb and I do communal homes. So in my communal homes, I think the longest that we've had individuals stay that are working individuals are people that are working like regular jobs, Amazon. Typically, right now in Charlotte, is about $65,000 per year to afford a one-bedroom home or one-bedroom apartment. So in that regard, it's getting crazy and unaffordable. So we're providing affordable housing. So basically, you're looking for someone that can at least be able to afford the rents, because each one of us is renting by the week per room. So my $200 rooms stay booked. They're never pretty much empty, and if someone leaves, then of course we have someone on the waiting list that's looking to move in immediately once they leave. So,
and how are you finding the people to? I'm sorry, hold on. How do you? Oh no, you're fine. How do you find the people for your communals? Like, how do you find the nurses? Or I know we don't want you to give us your whole marketing thing, but it's just kind of like sort of like a little basic.
I think we're all using different methods. Me personally, Facebook, Craigslist. We have a long waiting list as well.
Give it up for the waiting list, y'all. That's what
we have a waiting list, and then we have referrals. So I have a couple of people that are inside of our communal that will refer the place to someone that they know, and then we in turn give them a referral fee for those finders.
So if you all listen to, as I call him, my Uncle Parker, but you all may call him Jay Parker, he talked about systems. And so when you talk about finding properties, as a man or a woman, you need to create a system for your business. I don't want nobody to think that I'm up here doing everything day to day and I'm running the business. The systems run the business. So when you talk about finding properties, you have to put systems in place to find properties. So what that looks like is realtors, wholesalers, events like this. Your face should be a marketing. If I was to ask you guys, when you think about toothpaste, who do you think of? All right, so when you think about real estate, you want your face or your name to be the first one to come to people's mind. So shout out to my realtor Key. So yeah, also with being in the blue collar industry, everyone knows what I do. So I get a lot of contractors that go on people's houses. So when they go on people's houses, they know what I'm looking for, and they know the situation. They talk to the customer, and so we solve the problem. That's another great way of finding properties. And so they literally just come to me. I don't have to necessarily find them. They come to me. I don't go out here searching and picking up rocks and stuff trying to find a property, because I have a system that brings the property to me.
I have two follow-up questions. One is, do you do the contract with the actual nurse or with the agency that they work for? Yeah.
We particularly do both. So we have nurses that are looking, because some of them get a stipend from their employer, and they come directly to us. And then also via our marketing, we're marketing to different staffing agencies, as well as the staff nurse and things of that nature. So we're working both sides.
Okay. And how do you determine, if a property is a good fit for maybe nurses, which is your niche? How do you determine, is it the location, what's near it, is it just the size of the house, what's in the house?
Yep, so the properties that I look for is, in some terms, we find properties that are near the house, or apartments, because we do apartments as well, are near the places that they're going to work. So we have a couple places that are never basically empty. I have one place right now that's booked out throughout the end of the year, and it's not a traditional rental. As Jay was saying, how most traditional rentals, you're only going to get about $300 or $400 on the make. So with us, we're looking for places that are close by to a hospital where they can walk, they can take a short drive. Typically, that's on the nurse side. And in other regards, there's something called, what Jay likes to call, is buying right, and then he can talk a little bit about buying right in terms of how to find particular communities.
Can I give you the secret sauce? No, they don't want it. They don't want it. Okay, what's the next question?
Okay, right here. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna get your secret sauce, but can we get some of these questions out? Came here for it.
All right, so my question is really specific, and it's regarding rental arbitrage, but doing the exact same template that you're talking about. And North Carolina is a landlord-friendly state. I will be doing this in a tenant-friendly state. What advice would you give me?
What's your question? You said rental arbitrage, and then you said something about
Basically, I'm doing rental arbitrage with SROs, a 4-bedroom property in Massachusetts, and I will be doing the exact same communal model through rental arbitrage, where I have a master lease and I will be subletting. I'd also be dealing with people that are experiencing homelessness. So we're dealing with SSI and disability, guaranteed income from the government. What is your advice for me? I'm actually going up to Boston on Sunday, and we're going to be meeting with property management and all of that. So also meeting with the county, meeting with representatives within the office of the mayor, so do face-to-face interaction. And I want to deal with agencies that are of a higher caliber to decrease the likelihood of having turnover.
Yeah. I think I can't really answer that question, because that population is not a population that we serve.
So take the population out.
The population is very important. The population is very important. See, because if you're dealing with folks that are homeless, right? They could have been homeless for 5 years. It's not the same as someone that is a working professional. That's what we focus with. We focus on working professionals. So we got maybe a crane operator. They make about $55, $60 an hour. So we're talking two different populations. And so I couldn't answer that question.
So just a lot of these people have been displaced.
What's that?
A lot of these people have been displaced. So we're dealing with people who are dealing with the recession. So they may be people that have been making $65,000.
Right.
They've lost their jobs.
Right.
They've been working for these companies
right.
that are letting people go. So don't worry about the population. I need to know from the standpoint of going from a tenant-friendly state
right.
or a landlord-friendly state to a tenant-friendly state.
Right.
That's kind of
I think what you need to do is focus on what you're going to charge per week or however you charge it. And so that's going to determine who's going to move in. Because if somebody's making $10 an hour, $12 an hour, and the rent is $200, they're not going to be able to cut the mustard.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, that's how we actually determine, who we want in the property. It's because if we lower the rent, we can get people with SSI. That's not our population that we serve. Or people that are in halfway houses. I just don't know that market.
That's okay.
I don't know that market.
All right, next question.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a response?
Okay, everybody, let's quiet down. Let's please quiet
Okay,
down.
guys, can we answer that in like 30, I got like 25 people. Just answer real quick, please, real quick.
All right, so years ago I had a low-end property and I was going to rent out the rooms and I was going to attract, I don't want to call them a low-end individual, but somebody of that substance, and I was advised you do not mix sexes at that level because if something happened, if a man does something to a woman or a woman does something to a man, I'm liable. So none of them have experience with that. So that's when you're dealing with that crowd, it's extremely relevant. So you do have to talk to somebody who deals with that particular crowd. Next question, Candace.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I own a solar company, and basically we help homeowners and developers lower their monthly bill, a fixed rate bill. I wanted to tap into your guys' industry. Which way do you think I should do?
He owns a solar company.
I'm trying to tap into this industry.
He wants to tap into the industry.
I want to help you guys reduce the bills that the monthly electrical bill that you all are paying, a fixed rate bill. How will I go about that?
Okay, can we hold your question to the end? They're gonna be available to talk. I wanna keep it specific to what we're talking about right now. I appreciate you. I love that hustle. I like that. Hold on, I have to the table and then I'm coming back because I see y'all. I'm coming. I promise. I'm coming. All right. Everybody, y'all, I'm coming.
So when we're looking at rural comps for a neighborhood, what is that percentage that you all are differentiating versus what you're charging versus what the rural comps are in that neighborhood, so I can determine my purchase price? In addition, do you have anyone that's buying in the northern states where home values are of course much higher than what we're experiencing here in the South?
I think the biggest thing there is, in some of the northern states, the rent is going to be so high to where you can only raise the rent proportion to your population that you're serving. So, it's very, very important that you buy right. See, you got to buy properties that are on sale and not for sale. And that's a majorly difference. Because if your wife, she goes shopping and she comes back with a whole carload of clothing, you feel much better when she tells you, honey, don't worry about it because it was on sale. So, you got to buy properties like that. You got to buy them on sale. Now, one of the questions, I don't know if it really got answered, but it was like, how do you buy properties? Well, I took the approach of Popeyes. Popeyes came late to the game in the chicken sandwich business. But they had all of y'all standing in line waiting to get their Popeye sandwich. So, you got people in here that does cold calling. They do text blasts, and they do all these things. If I sit up here and say, this is what I do, every one of you tomorrow morning going to be doing the same thing that I do. Does that make sense? And so when you do that, you split the market share. So then you say, oh, this stuff doesn't work. Because everybody's doing it now. Does that make sense? So you have to be, look, wise as a serpent and humble as a dove. So what I mean when I say that is, I look at Popeye, and I come up with a plan that mimics Popeye's. For example, how many of you in here, let me see a show of hands, ever seen The Rise and Grind on Facebook? Okay, raise your hand high, we can't really see. Okay, that's a decent amount. All right, and so in The Rise and Grind, one of the things we do, we make a post and we take a picture every day. every day. I've gone to Florida, with Miami, then in California. People say, hey, I know you that Rise and Grind guy, right? See, we're marketing. How many of you in here knew we were marketing? Yeah, so we're marketing. Now, we got something else. We do something called a reveal. And you guys can do this, or come to this. We'll post on the Facebook. I'm that old guy they were talking about. You know, on Facebook.
Thank you, fellow old guy.
All right, so what we'll do, we'll post a reveal. We'll post a reveal on Facebook. And we want you guys to come out. Some of you that have questions about what it looked like, you'll get an opportunity to see just what it looks like. And so we're going to do that. It's probably be somewhere around the first week of February or something like that. It won't be the 9th. That's for your next meeting? Yeah, it won't be on the 9th. All right. All right. But we'll have it, and you guys can come and take a look at it. But what are we doing? Marketing. But see, there's other things. When you come there, we're going to be doing other things that we're going to, when you first walk in the house, maybe I shouldn't tell them.
No, we're gonna go to the next question. We're go to the next question. Okay, so how do you know? So I have to go ask these. So sorry, this is recording it out. Okay, you said your question was this. How do you know? How do you know whether or not you can do a communal in a neighborhood? Is that the HOA? Or how do you know, like, or do you just do it? Don't worry about it. Do you try to purchase in neighborhoods with no HOAs, or how does that work?
So communals are not like a short, like for example, I can compare it to Airbnb, right? Where Airbnbs, you have to be very careful in terms of where you can do them at, because they typically are, they like to say, disturbing the community when people are coming in and out because they're short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are 29 days and less. With a communal, individuals are staying for years in most cases. You know, my longest individual has been there about a year and a half. Jay, your longest?
7 years.
7 years. Isaac, your longest person is with 2.5 years. So with that model, these are individuals that are living in the same household, unrelated individuals, so they're really typically, I have never really run into the model or the issue where we're having an issue with the HOA, because these are people living in a house just like everybody else in the neighborhood. So that's not something that I have experienced, or I don't think any of you.
Now, are you guys paying cash for these homes? Because so as a realtor, I know that some neighborhoods have rental caps. And you can find that out through the HOA. So you can just contact whoever the HOA is for that neighborhood, if it's a neighborhood that you have, that you think maybe. You can just contact that HOA and they can tell you if it's a rental cap. But we're going to go to the next question.
You gave some great insight onto kind of where you're locating the properties as far as nurses, right? That makes sense to close to hospitals, right? But Jay, when you're talking about the working class, what types of neighborhoods or zip codes, what demographics are you using to go and find where you'll have the most success, and what's your ideal occupancy that you're underwriting for and what you normally see?
Yeah, so it's working professionals, not just the working class, working professionals is who we target. So like, just depending on where the property is. So we have one off of Mount Holly Road. And so off of Mount Holly Road, there's, I think it's like 3 or 4 fulfillment centers. So we took signs and put maybe 50 signs out by Amazon. So who's gonna call? Amazon. So what we do, we target who we want. So if we have a property that's near a hospital, we take the signs and put the signs in the yard or in the areas where the hospitals are. And so it's just a lot of different things. And stop kicking me. No. So, she was fearing that I was going to give away the secret sauce. But anyway, But you know, you have.
Sauce is not pretty. Y'all have to pay for the course that you keep talking about. Look at the sauce. The sauce don't look cheese, okay? Let's dress up for you sauce. All right, we got a question right here.
Hey, dude, I appreciate you showing us how to do this, son.
Yeah!
But my question for Isaac, do you have do you have a limit on the common areas, or do you have certain guidelines to prevent people from being territorial?
We have certain guidelines. We have certain guidelines to prevent people from being territorial. I don't know what's wrong. Can y'all hear me now? Okay, do you have certain guidelines to prevent people from being territorial?
So,
Or time limits? Oh, so you mean like in the common areas? In the common areas, so like, you know, communal rentals, do you have rules as to like, you might have 5 people in a rental, and if you have that one person that's always in the living room trying to watch what they want to watch, do you have rules on that, or do you don't really deal with that because of the type of clientele you have?
correct. So keep in mind, as we've been talking about, we deal with a different population, so we're dealing with grown folks. Yeah. In a sense. Now, that don't mean that they're always perfect, because nobody in this room is perfect. You know, it's just like they have speed limit signs. And so when you design a community, that's what I mean by systems and integrity. So that's one of the biggest keys and biggest differences. You have to establish a sense of integrity throughout the house that keeps the peaceful environment. To answer your question, most people really don't use the common areas. The only common area that's commonly used is the kitchen. So far as the living room area, that's not a high usage area. But I will say, from a selling point and from a exceeding of expectations of family members, that is important that you put a lot of effort and energy into decorating and making that space comfortable and homely-like.
Kind of just like if you go to an Airbnb. I don't know about y'all, but I look through every picture, I'm zooming in, I'm looking at everything. If it don't look like HGTV, I don't want it. So it's the same thing. We got another question. Sorry, was you gonna say something?
Yeah. One of the things, I guess the guy was asking about the people, how you select them and where they do. It's much like your friend. Your friend is much like you. If you talk loud, your friend usually talk loud, right? Okay, so we use something like the Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs is a personality test. So we actually choose people that are like each other. Does it make sense? So if you find people that are like each other, then you have less likely a chance you having disagreements. Does everyone follow that?
Yeah, that's good. All right, next question.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Mons, and the question I had is like a lot of the principles and things that y'all talk about with communals. Can you apply those to multi-family properties? And also, is it the same process for somebody who's trying to use like a VA loan or something like that? Has there been anything that you guys have seen as far as that?
Yeah, Jonathan has experience with that. He did the VA and was quite successful with it.
What are you asking specifically on VA?
I'm just asking, like, are the same principles that you would apply to a communal, could you use that for a multifamily property? And with that, is it possible to use that for a VA loan?
So with the VA loan, you technically need to live there for a year. So now on the multifamily, I'm sure Jay will tell you this. With multifamily, you have.
Can y'all talk? You see him? Talk to him at the end. Yes.
I just got a sentence on that. The sentence is, on the multifamily, can you do this? And UNCC, they own apartment complexes that they rent rooms out to college students. And those rooms are not cheap. They're paying market rent for the room. And so, to answer your question short, yes, you can do it.
All right, I got a question. I have a home that I closed on about 2 years ago. It's my primary residence. I have a lot of equity in it, a lot. So there's a lot of untapped potential there. such as pulling the equity out, but I know if I pull it out through a refinance, the rate is super high. You know, I got it in the lower threes. What suggestions that you all have? I know I can do like a HELOC on things like that, but essentially that's almost essentially creating another bill for me as well, on top of taking that money out and placing it maybe on a rental property. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
All right, so on my personal property, I'm in a great situation. I probably have about $200,000 worth of equity. But when I got my HELOC, it was during COVID, so the bank wanted to be cautious, and so therefore, instead of giving me like $120,000, they gave me like $90,000, right? So what I did with that, I bought a rental property and rented it out, and it's due, and I got some other bigger projects going on, so I'm going to sell that and repay it off, rinse and repeat. But basically, you can build a whole rental portfolio off of a HELOC.
So as I stated before, all the interest rate stuff is a distraction. The number one goal is to get the asset. Obtain the asset. See, we've been distracted our whole life. Again, with healthcare, credit score, all this stuff is distraction. So get the asset. As you notice too, we talked about return on investment. We're talking about 100%. So if the interest rates are 8, 10, 12%, who cares? I'm getting 100% return on my money.
Marry the house, not the rate. Marry the house, not the rates.
Right. Yes. So we talking about completely different. See, when you listen to everybody else, you fall short. See, everybody else is looking at interest rate. They're doing single family, so they have to be cautious of that number. They have to be cautious of repairs, so they lose the integrity of their product. So when they have an HVAC go out, they're trying to duct tape it and put it back together. When I have an HVAC go out, we replace it and keep it moving. You know, so the integrity of the product is there. The family members love it, and then you can build your rental portfolio. Focus on attaining the asset, not the interest rates.
Let's go. All right, next question.
So I'll just project my voice. So my question was, in regards to the Airbnb versus communal model, let's just say you have a location that works for both. What is that deciding factor of you taking the Airbnb route versus that communal route?
It all really comes down to the profit, really. The profit, and then also the time of the year. So with Airbnb, a lot of the times you have like seasonal, this is like the seasonal time. So most of my Airbnbs are full right now with nurses because this is like a slow season in terms of travel. However, I really love the communal model because it's less turnover. Right. So I'm not having, it costs me less because on a good month, it can, you know, my cleaning bill is about $2,000 to $3,000 for all of my B&Bs. So I really like the model where with the communals, we're only doing 2 cleanings per month versus on the B&B, it's every day or every stay. So that really pretty much is the determining factor. I like to be paid every single day, you know, that's Airbnb. And then I love being paid every week too, you know, with the communal model. So I do both. However, it basically depends on that particular time of the year, and then also, like you said, depending on that area, because I'm not going to do Airbnb in a place that's not conducive, like, you know, HOA issues and things like that. I've tried it back in 2018, and I had the HOA tell me, hey, you cannot do it here. So I learned a long time ago to make sure that I'm cautious in regards to how and where I'm doing Airbnbs.
Thank you. I do have one more follow-up question with that. When you think of like your portfolio composition, is there a certain percentage Airbnb versus communal that you're trying to achieve? And when you're looking at it from a financing perspective, is there a certain type of loan options that you would rather do a communal type of setup with versus the Airbnb because of that seasonality of the property?
DSCR.
Somebody in the room that's doing the DSCRs, I believe.
Everybody here in front is doing DSCR. Stand up, big girl, don't be shy now. This money is 2023. Raise your hand, she's doing DSCRs. Go talk to her. Whenever at the end, she got you. All right, next question.